What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 148 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where a few best buds from different nations come together to discuss the wide world of video games. I'm your host, Peter Messi, joined as always by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Stephen Radford.
Hello, hello.
And Mr. Max Wright.
Good evening.
The boys are back.
Yeah, we
The
are.
Triforce has been completed, everybody.
Wrong show.
Oh, right. Whoops.
Yeah. We were on last week, right? That was the last time we were all together. Was last week for one of the shows, FlipScreen, I think, maybe.
Were we all together last week? I don't even remember. Time's a
Yeah,
flash.
we did the...
No,
Yeah.
who knows? We're here now.
Yeah.
You know what? That triangle thing has made me think of a question. If you were a button on a controller, which button would you be? Would you be a triangle?
An icebreaker? We haven't done an icebreaker in how long?
Like a triangle, a circle, an X, a square? Would you be the pause button? Options? Share?
Wait, now is it X or cross? That's an important question.
It's definitely X. Even though it technically is cross, but it's definitely X. I would be the touchpad because
touchpad.
Yeah,
Would you like to be stroked? Okay.
Yeah, if you
interact fingers all over him,
interact with me in that way, I'll do whatever you need me to. You know, that's how I put it.
Hot. Okay, what about you, Steve?
I think I would be the pause button, the start button.
Yeah.
Whatever button that is, you know, whatever they call it on any control. Options, what's it called on Xbox? Back, maybe?
I can't believe you're saying that, not the hamburger slice.
The hamburger, yeah, but it's the hamburger button.
Cheese slices and the hamburger button.
Cheese slices and hamburger.
Yeah. Cheese slices and the hamburger. I'd be the hamburger button. I like a good nap. Like a good pause every now and again.
Sure.
Pete?
I feel like my knee jerk is that I would be the A button because anytime when there's not dialogue in a game or combat, I'm furiously pressing A.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't want to skip dialogue, but if I'm just like walking from point A to B in and over, I'm jumping all the time. I'm always.
What does that say about you?
ADHD. That's what it says.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That says
neurodivergence.
That says that quite clearly, actually.
Quite loudly. So I am very excited to jump into today's main topic. We are talking about our most anticipated games for the rest of 2024. So we're going to take out the calendar and talk about the games that are coming up that we're most excited to jump into and which ones we think may not make it across the finish line for the year. And then we've got a question on the back half where we're going to talk a little bit about backlog strategy and how you might chip in it, make a chip in it if you ever have. Or maybe how you learn to just let go, you know, and forget about it, you know. So we're going to talk about all that and probably some more on this week's show. So I would love to just get into it because there's quite a few games on this list. I've got Game Informer's 2024 list if you want to follow along at home. I pulled out some highlights that I thought were worth calling out, but I mean, there's quite a few on this list, and I'm noticing a trend these last 2 years. I don't know if y'all are feeling the same way where I feel like these last 2 years have felt a little bit like kind of the when we were growing up and the fall was like you just had this crazy onslaught of games and, you know, the rest of the year was a little quieter. Obviously, there's been plenty of good games this year, but I mean,
no real like bangers other than maybe like Elden Ring
swing.
DLC, yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, Final Fantasy earlier this year, like you had a few tentpoles, but
not indies, Max. Not indies. I'm about like big blockbuster titles that we used to think of.
Because indies, I think, have kind of always operated that way, right? They can come out whenever they come out, and if they're great, then that's what matters, right?
Yeah, that's true. There's I guess Dragon's Dogma was probably like one of the only sort of like AAA titles that's come out, but that sort of came and went, and you know that
it came and then Elden Ring ate its lunch.
Yeah, definitely so.
So I guess the question is, do you guys want to go through this list month by month and call out the ones that you're excited about, or do you want to just lead with the ones that you're most excited about?
I think we can go through. Yeah, well, we can go through. I'm looking at the list though, and there's one massive omission that, you know, is a game I'm excited about launching every single year, Just Dance 2025 is not on here.
Yeah, come on,
I just
man.
can't believe it.
Pete.
Currently undated, I think. So
It's out in October. Sometime in October, it's apparently coming.
I think I'm going to act on this like Pavlov's dog. When I hear a game name that I'm excited about, I'll perk up and start drooling, and then we can talk about it.
Sure. Make sure you pull it up on your own end too, though, because I just pulled what I saw that I thought looked good. I might have missed some stuff.
All right.
So
Okay.
if there's any games that are coming up that we missed talking about today, you guys can, of course, write in at home. But the first one that I pulled out is coming up pretty soon. We've got Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. That's, one of the few big Nintendo releases this year. We've got EA Sports College Football 25. Not something that any of us are into, but this is the revival of the EA college sports stuff. This was a thing they did for years, and you kind of saw sports games balloon up and then kind of really, really compartmentalize back down. So I think it's kind of interesting that you're seeing some more niche titles come out and try to make a play, but we'll see.
Whenever I see a sports game that's not one of the major ones, I'm like, this feels like an attempt to bring things back. Like back in the day, you had 6 football games, but now it's just like you say, it's FIFA, it's Madden, it's that, it's it, it's done.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that this is gonna set the world on fire. But
yeah, I missed the EA Sports Big series. They were great. Bring back SSX Tricky. I loved that game. And
Street, bring back Street.
Yeah, Street was great.
I think it's a shame that Ubisoft tried to do. Was it? What was the one where they did all of the sports?
Sports Stars? No.
It was
oh my God.
Winter Sports, Steep. When they came out with Steep, but all of it, because they did all the sports, they were all just kind of a bit. Yeah, do one sport, do it really well. It was the global buffet of sports games. It was do pick one thing and do it really well. Don't just do all of the things middlingly so everyone has something. That was a shame. I was really hyped for that one.
I'm surprised that there's no Olympics game coming out.
I really thought the direct was going to have Mario and Sonic.
Yeah,
I guess technically the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games 2020 is still valid. There has not been Olympic Games to coincide with that game. So maybe
it's about to start. We're about to have the
Wasn't
Olympics
that one supposed to be in Japan?
In Paris.
Yes, didn't happen. Never happened. So the game came out.
But this one is though. It's interesting that they didn't do it for the Paris.
Maybe they just maybe they suffered so much from this game coming out with no Olympics to boost it that
that it's just done.
They could just release an update. Give Mario a beret and a baguette, and they could do instead of
knowing Nintendo will get that update.
The javelin.
Time.
He could throw baguettes instead.
So thinly veiled, xenophobic.
Yeah.
So the beret toss.
He does look good in a beret. I'll give him that.
Of course he does. He's wearing a beret all the fucking time. Anyway, I hate berets as well. So there are 2 games you've missed for me so far. Looking down the list, Bow Path of the Teal Lotus is a game that I think I kickstarted maybe. That is coming out on July 18th. It's a Metroidvania, obviously. And then Flintlock Siege of Dawn is one we spoke about before on the show. That I was quite interested in.
Yes.
I'm going to sort of tentatively wait for the reviews on that and maybe get it on on the cheap at some point, maybe. Those are 2 games that I wanted to call out because we skipped them.
Cool. The next one I have is a game that we saw in the most recent direct, and I kind of already forget what it looked like, which is the new Denpa Man.
How can you forget?
The Denpa Man, I feel like I blocked it out a little bit,
Yeah, a trauma will do that to you.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess for all you Denpa Men fans, get excited. The next one that I'm excited to call out is Pepper Grinder is going to be coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox, and both PlayStations and both Xboxes, basically. And I really loved Pepper Grinder earlier this year. It's one of my favorite games this year. We reviewed it here on the show a couple months ago, so go check that out. Go check out that review if you haven't already. And we've got a short about it too. If one of our 59-second reviews, if you want to hear my quick thoughts about it. But really, really fantastic, creative platformer that I think folks should definitely check out if they, if it wasn't on your platform of choice before and now it is. Make sure you pick this one up.
I think that's going to make it into your Game of the Year list at the end of the year. If you start thinking about that, we're halfway through the year.
Yeah.
I'm so far, I've got not much on my list.
I'm always tracking it, and I'll explain how later when we get into the backlog section of the show. But
Yeah.
I'm always tracking my game of the year. I'm always thinking about, like, when I finish a game, I'm like, right, where am I going to put it in tentatively? So when it comes to the end of the year, I'm not scrabbling around thinking, God, what did I play? I've already got a list I've got in some sort of order, and then I can just go, well, actually, on reflection, that, you know.
That's how I've handled it the last couple of years, because I remember being frustrated when that would happen for us, where it's like we'd get to the conversation and I'm like, what did I even play this year?
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to like rank it as I'm going. I like doing it kind of, you know, having it be an always evolving list so that I have a top 10 in mind.
Yeah.
I think it will be hard pressed to get pushed out of this year. There are a lot of other games that I think that we're going to talk about today that have a real good chance of making my top 10. But yeah, Pepper Grinder like absolutely whips. So I feel like the likelihood of it not making it seems really unlikely. I'd have to really, really enjoy 10 other games this year, which I think is just probably unlikely.
Yeah. Well, us knowing that we keep that list and Steve not keeping that list makes a lot more sense now as to why things like Connections slip into his top 10, because he's like, oh, I need another game.
Connections wasn't even there, but Wordle was like a phenomenal game, and I don't understand how anyone could say that Wordle was not a game of
Wordle
that
was
year.
great. Connections
was
Connections
playing
did feature in your list. It did feature in your list last year.
I think I had a special mention. I love
Give it an honorable mention. Yeah.
All right.
I was like, you can't put that on your list. It didn't come out. So the next one is kind of an interesting one. This game, Volgar the Viking 2, is the title, and this is a sequel to a indie game that came out ages ago, and it was an Adult Swim game, and it was like notoriously difficult, and it is a game that I have a lot of fond memories of, because it was like one of the first, maybe not one of the first I remember anyway, Let's Play series that I ever did with a friend of mine, and just watching him suffer through it was delicious. So if you like bare knuckle, you know, type like retro games, this is one you might want to check out.
Steve, just a little context for you here. The only reason he's put this in his list is to give the developer and publisher Digital Eclipse more clout, so that he can claim Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Lucy's Rewind as a well-known developer.
This one's got to come out. Yeah, we got to get this out of the list.
I know what he's doing. I know exactly what you're doing. Don't think
I got the Let's Play to prove it. I have a personal in here.
You're gonna have a mustache and a shaved head, and you're gonna be saying things like lit, and you're gonna be dabbing and stuff just to prove that it was years ago. Class. This is typical.
Oh, incredible. All right. Next up, we got SteamWorld Heist 2. That one's on August 8th. That's obviously, you know, the SteamWorld franchise is another like one indie darling, right? One to look out for. This one I think is one I'm very morbidly curious in, right? Which is, we've talked about it a bit, is Concord. This is the multiplayer hero shooter that PlayStation showed off at the last PlayStation State of Play, and this is the one that is going to have basically, like, I think it's every week there's a new narrative beat, like a la the, you know, old school Overwatch cutscenes kind of thing, where it's like the story will be progressing week to week as you kind of complete your daily, weekly, monthly objectives like you would in any other, you know, games as a service hero shooter kind of thing.
This is a paid title, and it's like exclusive to PlayStation, right? Or is it this coming day and date?
It's going to be on PC as well. Yeah, day and date on PC. So, I mean, it's interesting, because like being a paid title, I think hurts it, but it's also like Helldivers was a paid title.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that like come back every day and do these tasks and do this, and here's this extra content. Like, that's why Fortnite thrives, right? Is that you're constantly going back. There's constantly new stuff going in. They've got to have the seasonal content there. They've got to have the stuff ready to go. It's whether
I mean, it seems like that's the plan, right? Because it's like they have these like story beats that you're going to be playing around. So, I mean, like, if they have like a roadmap that coincides with that, I don't know. I think this is an interesting one, because it's something that you've not really seen, right? Like the carrot on the end of these types of games is usually not a world with a narrative and a story. So we'll see if people respond to it or not. I think it's kind of an uphill battle for sure.
Massively.
But we thought that about Helldivers, and that ended up being a huge success. So we shall see. Then there's World of Warcraft, The War Within. That one's coming out in August as well. None of us are WoW guys, but obviously that's a huge deal. Every time one of those comes out, those servers like light right back up, right? And like people flock back to it. So
They always crash constantly.
yeah, absolutely. So this is the first one that I'm really excited about on the list is Star Wars Outlaws is coming out on the 30th, and that's going to be on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. We talked about this game a fair amount over the last couple months. Basically, since its reveal, it was something that I was interested in. You know, it seems like it checks a lot of boxes for what I look for.
Yeah, literally in a game. Yeah.
Yeah, true. In like a open world kind of environment like that, right?
That's good.
So we'll see. I mean, the deep dive that they gave us at the Ubisoft event, I know
great.
we all thought looked good. And I know, Steve, you said it was one of the games you were most excited about in the coming months at that time. So yeah, this is one I think unless previews come out and paint an unflattering picture, seems like it'll be one that'll be on my list for sure.
Where do you think you're going to play this? Because this is the kind of game I want to play handheld, and I can't decide if I'm going to attempt it on the Steam Deck or I just buy a copy for Xbox and stream it.
I think you're better off buying it on Xbox and streaming it, because if you get a PC copy and it doesn't work, then you're fucked. Whereas if you get an Xbox copy and you want to play it, you can just use Moonlight and you'll be fine.
Is it even coming to Steam as well? Are you because you're probably gonna have to then download the Ubisoft thing.
No,
you're
I'm
not
not
gonna have
doing
the
that.
cloud saves and all that
That's
stuff.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that it'll probably just be on the Ubi launcher. So yeah,
I would get it on Xbox. Yeah,
that's probably where I'll get it as well. Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I think this is one of those games that like. I think Max made this comment a few months ago when I was excited about it, where it's like it feels like it's theirs to fumble at this point. Like it showed well. They've said things that I think are what a lot of Star Wars players are going to want to hear. So it's just a matter of like, is the execution there? And the vertical slices we've seen look pretty good. So I mean, I'm very optimistic about it. I hope it sticks the landing because, we'll see. It's an unknown quantity, I guess.
Yes.
Speaking of known quantities, a re-release of one of my personal favorite, very niche games is finally coming out. Age of Mythology Retold is coming to Xbox and PC on September 4th.
They announced this during the stream, during not E3, right? During Summer Games Fest, is that right?
They had announced it like a while ago, but that was the first time that they had actually shown like a trailer for it or anything. If memory serves. I know
this
Steve
was
and I
at the
talked about
Xbox
it like
event
a while ago, and I was very giddy about it, and then we never really heard about it again until that trailer came out. Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite like RTS, this was when I was a kid, this was my RTS, and I always preferred Mythology to Empires, and I was always bummed that it never got a sequel.
Age of Empires, do the cheat, get the car, and just go drive around and shoot things with your missile launcher. It's great.
It's fun. I'm not shitting on Empires, but Mythology, you get to summon monsters and go attack cities, and I always thought that was cooler. Who wants to have a tank when you could have a Minotaur?
A fair point. That is a fair point.
Very, very fair point.
I appreciate that. Thank you, boys. This is what this next one is, I think, very, very high on my list because of what a known quantity it is, which is Astrobot.
I can't wait.
Nobody, I don't think anybody who has spent a significant amount of time with that demo that likes 3D platformers doesn't have really nice things to say about it. Obviously Team Asobi, like with Astrobot Rescue Mission, like made one of the most popular PSVR titles, but I think when they made the demo on PS5, it was most people's reaction was like, damn, if we could get a full length of this, like, wouldn't that be so exciting? So this is one this is like a day one for me for sure. I'm sure it's going to be one to look out for.
Yep. So my brother's disappointed because I was going to sell him my PlayStation after I beat the Elden Ring DLC, but I now can't do that because I want to play this in September. So yeah.
Beautiful. Well, that's good. They gotta keep you on the hook somehow.
Yeah, just like release every 4 months, and I'll keep
yeah, exactly. So this is a newer one that we got to look at that Capcom event a week or two ago, right? Which is Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster coming out on September 19th. This is really cool. I think this looks like a really good remaster. All the fans of the series that I know thought it looked really solid. Some really good quality of life updates, like just modernizing it a little bit, not getting away from the core of what was so good about it. And yeah,
they've
exciting.
given it the Resident Evil treatment that it desperately needed. I think it very much it is in that same engine, and I'm really excited about. I loved the original Dead Rising. It's the only one in the series I actually do really like. Nothing beats going outside, grabbing a lawnmower, and just mowing down some zombies. It's really fun.
I don't know if this is your perspective, since you said you only like the first one, but I played the first one quite a bit. When it came out with a good friend of mine, and I kind of felt like the later ones, it felt like they kind of jumped the shark. Like it was like the first one was like zany, but it was like just zany enough, and then it was like, all right, now we got to up the ante, and it's like, okay, like it felt like
nonsensical,
just increasingly ridiculous, to the point where it kind of like lost its way a little bit. So I like the idea of going back to basics.
Yeah, the charm is that it's like you're watching a cheesy zombie movie, right? It's a scenario that could potentially happen, but probably won't. And you've got this kind of cast of characters that all have their own unique traits. They're just a little bit odd.
I never played any of the Dead Risings. That generation just skipped me by. I was pure Nintendo then. I don't know if I'm going to be that bothered to hop back in at this point. But maybe when it goes quite cheap, I'll give it a go. It seems like I hate the term sort of dumb fun, but it does sort of just seem it's just fun.
That's very much its vibe. And and I feel like what I like about it is it's very like that is what it is, and it doesn't pretend to be anything else. It's very much like Steve said, like get a lawnmower and throw chainsaws on the side of it and drive it through a fucking mall. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure, cool. It's a good time. God of War Ragnarok coming to PC on September 19th. Obviously, it's a good one. It's cool. More PS5 games coming to PC. Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrushed is coming out on everything on September 24th. Have either you ever played this game?
No, I haven't, but I've read about it. I've not played it.
Yeah,
I've read about it.
It's really cool. It's like a very unique platformer. It has some really cool ideas. I think it was one of those titles that kind of got like swept up in the like the Wii is for kids, and it's like, see, it's a Mickey Mouse game, and it's like, yeah, but it's a good like novel 3D platformer with some really cool mechanics.
I was really into this all the way up to release, and then just didn't get it for some reason, and then just forgot about it. And then I think the sequel came out and wasn't as good, if I remember rightly. And then it's just one of those games that just fell off my radar forever. So I think I am going to pick this up because I am looking forward to this one.
I've only played it once. I played it when it was contemporary. I was similar to you. I had followed it up to a release, and then I didn't have the money for it, I think, when it came out. And then a friend of mine got it and like loved it and was like, take it, you got to play it. It's so good. And to this day, they're the only person I know that like has any affinity for it, even though I know it's very well remembered critically. So cool to see it get another at bat. You know, I like seeing some of those more obscure titles getting a second shot, right? Because it's like we talk about this all the time, right? With games like that, where like if you're somebody who is like, you know, you're a Gen Z kid, right? Like it's like you probably too young when this came out, or maybe it was contemporary for you, but like you missed it by a couple years or whatever. And it's just like, it's nice to see stuff like this that was a, you know, critically well-received game at the time, but maybe not a game that set the world on fire. It's not one of the top 100 games on the console or whatever, but you know, worth getting a chance to revisit and connect with a new audience and not be like stuck with a Wii-centric control scheme too.
Was it all waggling and brushing, or what was it?
It was one of those ones where and again, memory serves, right? Because I played this like 20 years ago now, but my memory of it is that it was kind of similar to like the way that like Galaxy played, where it was like you were using the nunchaku and Wiimote, like kind of like a controller, and there was like the brush stuff was motion, but it wasn't all motion controls. Like the platforming wasn't motion controlled.
That makes sense.
That's my memory of it anyway.
Do you think it will translate then, if there is that? Because I struggled with Galaxy in that collection that they put out on the Switch, because it was like you sort of had to touch the screen in handheld mode to pick up the bits, and it was like, this is a bit clumsy.
Yeah, hopefully that's. I don't think there's going to be any of like pointing stuff. It sounds like it's just going to be motion stuff, which I think does translate well to a button, because literally instead of just doing that, you're just doing that. If they just mapped a button to a waggle of some sort, for a good example of that is Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii. When I played that on the Steam Deck, I just mapped the waggle. There was a control scheme that mapped the waggle to roll to like a button. So you literally just press the button, and it's as if you've waggled the controller, and then it's fine.
That's my belief as well. Is I think a lot of those games, like the motion controls, were kind of like oversold, because like, you know, with Galaxy, like there are some things that are like motion specific that like actually would be like a gesture or something, and like the player 2 option, right, where you can like move the thing around and collect the stars, like that's something you can only do with motion controls, really. I mean, you could put it on a cursor or whatever, and it's like fine, fair enough. But I feel like a lot of that stuff is kind of like, you know, it'd be like jump and then shake to do a ground pound or something like that, and it's like, okay, you can put that on a button. Like, does that need to be a gesture? Probably not.
I guess,
you know?
it's similar to Cappy and Mario Odyssey, isn't it? I mean, it's
right. Like that doesn't have to be motion. Yeah. I turned the motion controls off on that because I thought it was clumsy, right? Because it's easier to push a button reliably than it is to get like to click my controller or whatever.
To do some of the, like, where you jump on the cap, you throw the cap, you jump up to the cap, you throw the cap, you jump up again to get to those like hard to reach places to find the secret moons. I found that way easier with motion controls than I did with the button, but for the most part, I just pressed that button to throw the cap.
I got really sweaty with the button. Really sweaty. I was really good at Mario Odyssey, and when I pick it up now, I'm just useless. But my friend's daughter, my friend's daughter was really impressed with it. I was like, really not doing very well, but I was like, cool, that's good for me. And then my boss's daughter is better at it than I ever was. So
that is a feeling that never gets old for me, when a little kid like watches you play a video game and they're like, whoa, like this guy's got game. That is always a great feeling. I know I've told Steve this story. Max, have I ever told you the story about the time I embarrassed my nephew on his birthday with Pokemon?
No.
I'll tell this real quick. It's his like maybe his 10th or 11th birthday, right? And he's got a bunch of his buddies over, and he's like, oh, this is my cousin's been playing Pokemon since the first game. And they were like, whoa, you still play? And I was like, yeah, like I've got my 3DS with me all the time. I got it right with me right now in the car.
Always got that fang on you.
And my cousin's son is like, oh, I bet I could beat you. My Pokemon are so good. And I was like, oh, Junior. And I went into the battle with one Pokemon and beat his entire team of, legendaries with shit. It's just like, just demolished him. And all his friends were like, oh my God, whoa! Like, it was so fucking funny. It's like, so.
I once paid to enter a Smash Brothers tournament at a
first mistake. Never pay to enter. You're gonna.
It was a board game cafe. Money. Yeah. It was like, they paid for the prize. It was like a small organized thing. And there was a kid in it who was about, I don't know, he must have been like 11 maybe at the most. Yeah. I think he was a bit younger than that, maybe like 8 or 9. And people were like letting him win, and it got down to like it was my chance to be in the final, and it because everyone had let him win, it was me versus him, and I was like, I've paid money to be here. I'm very close. I'm not going to hold back on this kid. And I absolutely wiped the floor with this kid. Absolutely demolished him. And I did not feel bad for one bit. I just shook his hand and said, well played, and then moved on, and then got smashed out.
And he ran away and cried.
Yes, probably, but I didn't see that, so it's no skin off my nose. Before we move on, I've got another game you've missed. Just one. I'm jumping back a month. Black Myth Wukong finally comes out on August 20th.
Oh, yeah,
which I'm really excited about. I'm probably going to pick this up the day it comes out. Very excited about this one. I've just had it in the background, the trailer in the background, as I've been trying to remember it, and yeah, really excited for that one. And also, I think before you hop on,
I feel like we've been talking about that game for so long.
It's been
like finally see it come across the bow.
Yeah, it's had a long trip. There's also one more that, because the next game you're about to talk about comes out after this game, I'm pretty sure, and it's Space Marine 2 is finally coming out after it was delayed out of last year. The latest trailer for that makes it look incredible. Really excited to check that one out. But I'm going to be on holiday when it comes out, so that's a busy month for me. I think August, September time.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these games are coming out in that window.
like you say, it's the time.
Yeah, definitely seems like it. I mean, it's like you almost hope that some of the games that don't have dates get delayed because it's like we're already pretty stacked. I think you can maybe swallow one or two of these big games, but if all of them,
Yeah, problem is Nintendo's not pushing any of them because they've got a new console next year, and I don't think they want to overshadow that launch.
I'm not too pressed about their games though. Like they have a lot out, but I feel like some of it is like it's a good mix of stuff, right? Like it's like there's a few single player games, a couple of them are multiplayer. It's like if you pick up the next game we're going to talk about, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, right? Like you could get that and Super Mario Party within 2 weeks of each other, and it's like that's
I will be doing that. I'm very excited about both of those titles.
Yeah, me too. So let's talk about that one, right? Echoes of Wisdom. That's the new Zelda title. That's the one we just saw revealed at the last Direct. That's going to be our first game fully playable as Zelda, and this is like kind of like a very oriented around puzzles, right, and like creative problem solving. I'm very excited for this game. I think the mechanic, to me, seems like a really fun way to kind of take the building mechanic, introducing Tears of the Kingdom, and kind of the like, instead of being like the way you solve the puzzles is by getting this one specific item. It's like, well, you solve it with your brain, right? Like figure it out. What do you think you can do to do this? It feels like a cool way to take that and then apply that to the kind of classic top-down formula. I'm super excited that, we're getting an original game in that like, storybook, like wooden doll, whatever. The Link's Awakening remake style.
Yeah.
That's super fresh. Like I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, it's the first new top-down Zelda game since A Link Between Worlds on the 3DS, which is a game that I very much enjoyed.
Which is also like 11 years old, right? Like
yeah.
It's been a long time.
I had sciatica, so I was on like a cocktail of medicines and things like codeine and stuff, and I was just laying in my bed, really high as a kite, really enjoying this game in the 3DS. I might have to injure myself before this one comes out and see if I can recreate that same experience.
Recreate the magic.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Hell yeah. What about you, Steve? Any thoughts?
I'm really excited about it. I had a conversation with Ray about the art style on this one, and he was not very happy with the art style. I'm over the moon about it, but I want to see what your take is. His view was that art style was for a very unique game that was based on a dream and was set in like a weird world full of Mario characters, and to like recreate it kind of spoils the how special that game is.
I don't agree.
I don't agree either.
Like that to me feels like saying that the fact that we saw the Toon Link design used in other games makes Wind Waker less special, and I don't feel that way. I don't begrudge him feeling that way, but I think to me it's Link's Awakening defined what the Game Boy Zelda games looked like, and then the Oracle of Ages and Seasons games copied that style. So it's like the idea that we're just getting like another game in that. I think it would be a shame if the only time we ever saw that art style was in that one remake, personally, because I think it's such a good Link design. It's so cute, and it's the most fundamentally like unique design that he's had since like Toon Link, which I'm kind of, that
I like Twinkling in Breath of the Wild too.
Twinkling.
Sure, but like, I don't feel like that Link looks that dissimilar from like every one of the Links in the modern, like not even modern, the last like 30 years, I guess I'll say. They all feel like they're very influenced by Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And that's cool. That's a great design.
The shift to the blue tunic was a big one, though. Like,
and the hair is a little different.
I was thinking about this recently. Has there ever been a dramatic main character redesign like that that's been successful? Like, games like Mega Man have sort of recreated. It's still the same general design. It's just like it's a bit edgier.
Lara Croft.
Again, that's still the same. It's still the same basic look, though, right? This is like, this has gone from he's had green tunic and hat for 30 years,
forever,
whatever, longer than that, and then they went scrap that. It's just blue tunic now.
No hat.
It's no hat. It's a completely new. It could almost be a completely different character, and yet the fan base loved it, and I think they did it in such a good way. I can't think of another thing like that where they've just completely changed the iconic elements of a character that make it more iconic than anything else.
Not on that level. I think you're right. Like I'm thinking about it, and the examples I'm coming up with are all more moderate. Right, like I'm thinking of like Pikachu, and like the original Pikachu was like
slimmed him down,
little
haven't they?
doughy chunk monster, and then now he's like a little bit more like bipedal, like he's thinner, he's like a little bit more, looks more cartoony than like a little monster, and but like that, it's still like if you were there's like I forget what it's called. It's like an artistic technique that it's a type of minimalism, and it's like you want to create a character that can be identified just by their color scheme, right? So like if I were to give you like 3 lines and it was like black, red, and yellow, you'd be like, oh, that's Mickey Mouse, right? Like that's his color scheme.
I've seen this before, yeah.
And
to yellow, white, blue, and it's Homer Simpson, that kind of
thing. Right? And you just like you can see that and be like, oh right, sure. Or like Bart even, right? Like if you want to do the same thing, it's like he's got the orange and the shorts, and it's like that's the look, right? And I think characters like Mickey or like Mario who are like, or like even like Batman or something like that, right? Maybe Batman's a good example. His original is like the gray and the blue, and then it's like now it's more the black and yellow, but even that, it's like the outfits, I don't know. I don't think there's one I can think of that's as dramatic a change as Link has basically looked this way in some form or another always versus this outfit, which is just totally different,
Yeah.
Good observation.
Sorry to take us on a detour there, but
no, not at all. I thought it was interesting. That's what we're here to do. So next up, we got Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. That's the first major DLC for Diablo, right?
It is, yeah. So we get a new class of character. We saw some of the cinematics shown at the Xbox event, which I guess was actually the Xbox Activision Bethesda event. First time that we'd ever seen Blizzard games at an Xbox event like that. I'm not going to be picking this one up. I still haven't finished the base Diablo 4. They made some changes in that initial like patch after the first month, which put me off. And after they reverted those changes, and I never got back into it, which was unfortunate. I will eventually, but this is coming out in October. At the beginning of October, I'm probably going to still be playing Zelda at this point. Probably still going to be playing Star Wars Outlaws at this point. Probably still going to be playing Astro Bot. There's just so many games.
Yeah, not the time to jump back in necessarily. So then Silent Hill 2's remake is the next one that's coming out on October 8th as well. This is an interesting one. I'm very interested to see like what this ends up being, because I know there's so many questions about like Bloober Team and like Konami's remakes, and we'll see. I hope it's good. I know that I've seen some Silent Hill fans that are excited. I've seen some that are very skeptical. I hope this one pans out. Metaphor ReFantasio comes out a couple days later on October 11th. This is, of course, the new Atlas title that is made by the like trio of creators that are the creative leads behind Persona 3, 4, and 5. It's like the lead designer, the lead programmer, and the or maybe artist, I forget, and then the musical director as well. So it's like that core team that kind of defined the style and look of the modern Persona games is getting their first at bat on a new IP in a really long time. So
so stylish, this game. I'm really tempted. I don't like turn-based, but it's just so stylish that I want to give it a go.
Have you ever played Persona?
Never touched it.
You should give 5 a go. Like, you really should. It's such a great story, such a great cast of characters. It's so stylish. The music's phenomenal.
Soundtrack's out of this world. Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Like, the fact that it's like a more like swords and sorcery thing is interesting. Like, I like high fantasy as a setting, but I think so much of what I like about Persona is kind of like the
social stuff. Like, I'm in high school,
Yeah, and then, like, you can do that not in a real world setting and have it still be appealing. I just, and like they talked a little bit about how a social link like system is going to be involved and everything. So I don't know. This is just one of those ones where it's like, I really hope I love it. I think it could come out and either be a game that I bounce off of, or it could be like one of my favorite games of all time. So fingers crossed on the latter.
If you don't like it, you should go back and play some of the other Persona games. Like Persona 4 is just phenomenal as well. Like, if you've not played that.
I've been playing 3 this year, and that's on my short list for game of the year right now. And 4 is, I want to go back and play 4 Golden at some point. But I also know that they're working on a re-release of that one as well. So, yeah, not to say that I'm not interested in playing Golden. It's more just like, I think knowing that there's a remaster coming, I'm kind of like inclined to deprioritize it a little bit. But yeah, definitely one I do want to get to as well. Particularly if this doesn't scratch the itch, I think I'll probably end up doing that. So speaking of this is one we mentioned earlier, Super Mario Party Jamboree coming out on October 17th. I think this looks fantastic from what we saw at the last reveal. Super Mario Party or not Super Mario Party. What is it? What was the last one? Mario Party Superstars?
Yeah, Mario Party Superstars. Yeah. Before that
game was really
Super Mario Party.
Yeah,
it's weird that they've gone back to Super Mario Party, and yet they're still bringing in boards from the older games that we know and love, along with 110 mini games this time around, which is fantastic. I still wish they would just let us play all of them in one collection, so I could pick the board, pick the mini games, and just kind of go with it. But Mario Party Jamboree looks fantastic. The fact that you can play it online at launch is
feels
great.
Like so much like what I want out of Jackbox, where like anytime there's a new Jackbox, I'm like, can I just like buy it as DLC and have it all annoying. In one game? Like that would be so great.
Which one's Bidiots in again? Is that pack 5 or pack 6? And now I want to go and play Fibbage 3, and that's over in pack 12.
I've only got pack 3 on this system. Or like, last time we played this great game. But that was on their Switch and they're not here. And I've only got these games. I'm not spending £25 to play one game. It is frustrating.
Yeah, it's like I would love to just have the opportunity to have had Superstars be like all of the classic boards are in one place, right? Or like don't even put that game out and put this game out and then have DLC. Like that's the dream, but I'm still excited for it. It looks really good. I'm happy for a new Mario Party. Hope it sticks to landing. Then we got Sonic X Shadows Generations coming out on October 25th. This is going to be one I will potentially consider getting into. It's like, I don't know. I have a lot of nostalgia for the games that this is based on, but I'm more of a fan of Sonic as a character and a design than I am the modern games. Like there's just so many that are just not
Unless
good.
It's Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania was great.
Yeah.
Make more of those.
But we'll see. Next up, Life is Strange Double Exposure. That's coming out on October 29th. This is definitely one of the ones I'm really looking forward to. Anyone who's been a long-time listener knows I'm a big fan of Life is Strange. Particularly the original one is very close to my heart. So getting a game where you get to kind of explore the future of what happens with Max is exciting. I do have reservations about it because I think the original game ends in such a good way, and it does have a ending that is based on player choice. So the idea that they're going to either have to have two versions of the game where both endings can be true, or they're going to have to canonize one of the endings is something that I could see being really controversial and not always working.
Shifting between two timelines. So what if the two timelines are the two endings from that original game?
It's hard for me to see how that works based on what we know about what this story is, because it seems like you're going through the two timelines to like solve this murder, right? And put all the pieces together. I do think I was talking about this with a friend of mine who is also a fan, and I was kind of saying that I think the easy way to kind of circumnavigate the ending is that I'll say this without spoiling anything. The point of contention is that there's one major difference, right? And I think you can kind of sideline part of it if you like. There's a way you could couch it where it's like, oh, like the character that's different, right, is like they're away. They're visiting family or something, so that's why they're not around. And it could be that simple, right? And it could be a thing where like in the version of the game where that character is not around, they're not around, and your main character is maybe thinking about them, maybe has memories about them or whatever, right? And if they are around, you have some kind of Easter egg that points to that, and maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's text messages or emails or whatever, and it could be a thing where you talk to that character, but maybe they're not an actor in the main story. That was something that Life is Strange 2 did really well. There's like a kind of ancillary character from the first game that you can run into, and in his like he has like a little house that you can kind of explore, and all of your choices from the first game are reflected in that scene. But that scene is not like consequential to the story of that game. It's just kind of like it's a fun Easter egg, right? And I think there's a way you can do that elegantly, but the question is, will they, right? And if they don't, if they do choose to like make one ending canon, then you're gonna bum out probably 50% of the fan base or whatever, right? So that's the fear, but I hope that I hope I like it as much as the original.
Are there names for each of the endings? And like, if so, which one did you pick?
There are, but this game is so old. Fine. Mild spoilers. Jump ahead if you need to. Basically, it's either save Arcadia Bay or save Chloe. And that is a pretty big decision for this character, right? And it's like the ending of the game, if you choose to not save the town, is that the two of you drive off together. So it's like
definitely.
You have to, and that's the choice that I made. So you have to like explain that, right? Is like if this character is alive, she's either got to be in the story or she's got to not be in the story, and you have to have a satisfying explanation for why that's not the case. And I think you could easily have that be that she's going and visiting her family or something that lives on the other side of the country, right? And it's like she just isn't around when this event happens, and that's that, right? And I hope it's that simple, but that's the messy thing about going back to a series that had a good definitive ending, right? It's like that's always the problem with like reviving a television show is like, are you going to be able to recapture those vibes? And the people that wrote those characters originally are not there anymore, So it's like, is that going to influence things? But this same team made a prequel about Chloe that I thought was going to be terrible because it's like, how could it not be? We don't need this prequel. None of the original writers are there, but it's like, it ended up being great. And Ashley Birch, who was the voice actor, like came and consulted and, so there's a path forward where this is good. I have faith in the team to deliver something good, but it's always kind of a charged thing. So hope it sticks to landing. Mario and Luigi Brothership is the next one. That's November 7th. I'm very excited for this one. I thought that showed really well at the last Direct.
Yeah, I've never played a Mario and Luigi game, but I feel
really
like
good.
They seem to look good. But wasn't this the studio? Weren't these made by the studio that was shut down? So I presume this is a new studio.
Yeah, we don't know who's working on this.
Yeah, I don't think we've gotten confirmation yet. But yeah, it was. I think what happened there was that they did re-releases of the first two Mario and Luigi games, and they did it on 3DS. And the second one came out like 2 years after the Switch had already come out.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
Nobody bought it, right? So that was like such a financial failure that the studio went under, and Nintendo didn't, choose to bail them out or acquire them or whatever. So that was that. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like that talent is no longer there, but it's also like, this is the thing I keep thinking about when I'm thinking about Dragon Age, which is that like, you don't need to have the original team there to make a good game in a franchise, right? Like it's like Inuma, who has run Zelda since Ocarina of Time, right? He's not the creator of Zelda, but he got it, and his vision ended up pushing it to get us to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So people who understand the franchise and appreciate it and like get what's special about it are totally capable of coming in and delivering something special. And who knows, maybe some of the folks from that team came back to work on this. Like that happens all the time. So I think based on what we saw, it looks good. I'm optimistic. Hope it's one that's worth picking up. So the last two we got with dates here are Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. That's coming out November 14th, and then Assassin's Creed Shadow coming out the next day on November 15th.
Neither of those for me.
Both of them are like tentative for me. Like they're not ones that I'm like excited to go out and pick up day one necessarily, but I think if they were coming out in a quieter time of the year, I might consider it. But I don't know. It's like I was more interested in Shadows when I thought it was smaller. It seems like it is more of the like big open, and I don't really want that from an Assassin's Creed. And Dragon
You're going to
Quest.
be burnt out on Ubisoft anyway from Star Wars, probably.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. I'll have gotten my fill of that kind of
Mhm.
experience. And Dragon Quest is one that like I would love to get into. Like that's a franchise that's kind of been a gap for me as a big turn-based guy. But yeah, just one that I don't necessarily see myself prioritizing over some of the other games that are coming out around it. All right, so I want to jump into the games that don't have dates in just a second here. But before we do that, let me remind you that this episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast is brought to you by Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Sobe, Snackago, Steve Stompy, Susan Likes Cats and Also Boobies, Voodoo Vic, Ty the Dude, and Wakahula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. You're all the realest of the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. Remember, if you want to go above beyond just like they did, if you want to get the show early and get all kinds of cool perks and goodies, you can head over to patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. But if you don't have any money for us, that's fine. Head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website where you will find links to all the places you can get involved, all the ways that you can be a part of the community or a part of the show. However you choose to do so, thanks for tuning in. All right, so I'm going to get in front of this right now. We got a question from LD Link 16 that was about backlogs. I fully thought we would have time to get to it today. We had a couple tangents. So we're going to save that one for next week. If you have thoughts on backlogs and how you tackle your backlog, I would love to hear from some of the folks in the audience because I know a lot of you are actually pretty good about it and like have a list and will get to old games. I know Max and I had some anecdotes about how we go about it that we wanted to share. So I am excited to talk about that one next week. I want to make sure we give that question the time it deserves and that the rest of the games on this list get the time that they deserve. So barring a big piece of news, maybe that'll be our main topic for next week. So make sure you write in on that subject. So let's jump into these last couple games. We're going to go through them in alphabetical order because they do not have dates. We have no idea when they're coming out. And I kind of want to get both a hype check from you if this is a game you're interested in, and then a vibe check on if you think it'll come out this year. Number one, Avowed. Xbox, PC.
I'm very hyped for it. I'm excited to see what Obsidian have been working on. They did a great job with the Outer Worlds. I love that studio. Pentiment was fantastic. I think Avowed is going to hit, and I do think it's coming this year. They had a release date on that blog post that got taken down, presumably because Microsoft weren't maybe sure as to when Elden Ring DLC was going to come out, and they didn't want to kind of see it overshadowed by other titles. So I think that they've got the game ready to go, and they're just waiting for the kind of release date announcement.
I am not bothered about it. It's not my sort of game, but I do think it comes out this year. I'm waiting for the reviews to see if it's worth me checking out, but I don't know about that.
Just grab Game Pass for a month, and then just check it out that way.
Yeah, give it a shot.
True. Good point.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steve. This is one I'm very excited about. I really enjoyed Outer Worlds, and I think Obsidian, and the team that they have there, like they just make exceptional RPGs. And I think that, for all the criticisms that people had for Starfield and even for Fallout 4, right? Like, I think Obsidian does a pretty good job of skirting some of those problems and being able to make those kind of smaller games on a budget that are able to kind of scratch that itch for people and feel like an older game done in a modern way. And that's something that I think is really appealing. And I think particularly amid all the conversation we've been having these last couple of years about how like AAA isn't viable anymore and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, I think they show the way of how to do it right? Is like you focus on quality rather than quantity. And you make something that, like that game was a full priced box title. And I didn't think it was.
It was the perfect length, absolutely perfect length.
Completely worth that amount of money. And it was about half as long as games that charged the same amount. And I didn't have any problem with that because what was there was good and it was worth playing and I wanted to do it again, So that to me is like what's exciting about Avowed. And obviously, the Pillars universe is well established. So they've got a lot, pretty deep well to pull from there. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it coming out because I feel like I could very easily see it making it, and I could very easily see this being another thing where like Microsoft played their hand too early. They showed too much of it, and maybe it's just like the reason that date got scrubbed was because we had a date in mind, and it's actually not going to be ready for that date. So That's why.
Well, they said 2024 at the Xbox event, and then it was November 12th, 2024 on the blog post that got changed and just set to 2024. I think they're pretty confident of hitting that release
I hope
date.
you're right.
I don't think Obsidian would have put the blog post up otherwise, and I think it would have just been set to 2024. My gut feeling is it's marketing setting the dates on these now to try and figure out when. And I would imagine that they at least want one game in consideration for Game of the Year at the Game Awards this year. You need to get something out in before December, really, in order to hit that.
You think another one of their games,
Hellblade, maybe.
Well, and you think another one of their games is coming out this year, don't you?
Yeah, I think Indiana Jones is coming out.
We'll jump ahead. We'll talk about that one. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Xbox, PC. If that one comes across, that could easily be a Game of the Year contender.
That's apparently targeting a December release, though, and that could be after the nomination period for the Game Awards.
Before, we've seen it happen.
It happened with Smash Brothers, right? And that got Best Fighting Game the following year.
Yeah, it happened with Jedi Survivor. That came out. No, sorry, Jedi Fallen Order. That came out and just completely missed all the Game of the Year conversation. Even next year, it was forgotten, which I think was a shame.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. If that does come out in December, then that would warrant them wanting to have something a little earlier, but
which is why the Game of the Awards should take place in 2025 in January.
That's when we do it.
Come out.
That's when we do it. Jeff Keighley, take notes, baby. Call me up if you need a consultant. So I don't know about that one. This is another one for me where I feel like it's such a coin flip based on like how Xbox has operated. Like they've given me so many release dates that they didn't hit, that if the game needs more time, I'm confident that they won't push it out and that they'll give it more time, particularly after having a couple missteps last year. I am excited about it. Machine Games, really, really great developer. They know how to make a game about killing Nazis. So
I'm do, and they've never delayed a game. So I'm pretty confident that when they say 2024, they're going to hit 2024.
I think that's a good point too. I hope you're right. I think that would be really cool, particularly if it comes out earlier in the year, because I would love to see a year where the Game of the Year conversation is multiple Xbox games. Obviously, I want that because I predicted it, but I just think it would be. I think it would be interesting because PlayStation's had that. Nintendo's had that. Xbox never has, to my memory. So I think that would be a good way to kind of turn the narrative back in their favor after a couple missteps over the last year and change that, left a bad taste in some of our mouths. All right, so jumping back, the next one is Dragon Age The Veilguard, coming out PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. This is, I've talked about this ad nauseum. This is my most anticipated release period across all
time. Yeah,
across all kinds of art. Like, this is the thing I'm most excited for right now. I'm actually replaying Dragon Age Inquisition right now in preparation for it because I replayed 1 and 2, last year, 2 years ago. And Inquisition was next on the list, and then I didn't get around to it. It is my least favorite of the three, and it's the only one I've only played once. So going back to it now, 10 years later, has been really fun because there's a lot of stuff that I kind of remember and a lot of stuff that I kind of forgot. And knowing what I didn't like about it when I played it has informed this playthrough in a really meaningful way. So I've been able to play in a smarter way, and I've gotten a lot more enjoyment out of it. So it's only increased my excitement for it because there's a lot of stuff in this game that is like kind of teeing up the story of the next one. Like as you're there's things that I didn't realize were going to be threads for the future that I now see are, which is fun to play in hindsight 10 years later. So yeah, this is one that it could either be my game of the year or it could absolutely break my heart. So we shall see. I have all the hope that it will deliver. I think that for me, this is one I am very confident comes out this year because this has been in development for so long and it's gone through like multiple iterations that I think if it wasn't ready, that they just wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, and they got the name change out. We had like a very big vertical slice with its own presentation around, G3. So I think that I agree with you. This one's probably coming. I really think when they don't put dates on these, They're looking to see what everyone else is doing. They're waiting for Nintendo to play their hand, for example. All of these games were announced and spoken about before Nintendo's big direct. We now know that there was a Zelda game in there, and they probably want to avoid, overlap on some of these other titles.
Yeah. But if it's one that they push till the beginning of next year, I would also be okay with that, just because I want it to come out and be right and have its moment. So, fingers crossed. Hyperlight Breaker coming out on PC. Max, are you a Hyperlight guy?
I like Hyperlight Drifter. I liked the other game they did. I can't remember the name of it. I played it this year. I'll move on because I can't remember. But I'm very looking forward to this one. This looks great. This looks like a cool roguelike, but like an action-y sort of 3D one. I'm waiting for them to reveal a date. They did say it was supposed to be out in early access in the summer, but I think in gaming world that can mean anything up to September. So we'll see when this does release, if this does release. I think a lot of the early access stuff I've played this year, I've sort of fallen off of a bit because I've sort of I've played them enough that I've hit the wall.
That's why Hades? You early access.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Hades is one that I keep meaning to go back to. I think it crashed on my Steam Deck a couple of times, so I stopped playing it. But I think they've had an update. Maybe it's fixed it. But I've been just doing other things. So I think we'll go back to Hades after I sort of finish off Dark Souls. I want to go back and play some of that and get to the end. But again, it doesn't have an end properly. So I'll wait for Hyperlight Breaker. I think it does come out this year, but I think they're probably going to miss the summer.
That's a shame. Next up, we got Lego Horizon Adventures, PlayStation, Switch, PC. This is one that I'm not planning on picking up probably at all, but I guess I could see it on a sale or something, because the Lego games are fun, but they're just, I think they're a real time and place kind of thing. If this is a game I could see playing with one of my friend's kids, I think that's probably would be the inroad for me. So we'll see. But
they're really good games with someone who doesn't really know how to use a controller. I will say that.
Yeah, and they're you can both have fun, you know. So yeah, it's one that if I have an opportunity to play it, I certainly will. But not a day and dater for me, I don't think. But cool to see the first PlayStation game getting released on Nintendo.
Yeah, and did you see they spoke to Stephen Totillo, formerly of Kotaku and Axios, now doing his own newsletter, Game File, and said that they've got nothing to announce for Xbox, but they kind of didn't deny it, and they were a little bit skirty about the question, which leaves a potential for an Xbox release of this game. I think it does well.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? If you're putting it on Switch, what's the difference at that point? Xbox putting their games on your console, you might as well, right? If it's not a game you think is strategically important anyway. So then we got Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater. This is one we talked about a couple weeks ago. Since hearing more Metal Gear people talk about it, I'm actually more interested in it, because I know Max and I were both kind of on the fence, but we're we don't know anything about Metal Gear, so it's hard to say if it looks good. And I've seen a lot of Metal Gear people be like, hell yeah. So maybe this is the time. Maybe this is time to take the plunge.
The only Metal Gear game I played was that one on the PlayStation with the cards. Did either of you play that?
No. PSP. God, what's that game called?
Is it Tactics?
Guns of the Patriots, I want to say.
No.
That's this one, actually. I think that's not.
Shoot, I can't believe I can't think of it. Oh my God. It's it's right on the tip of my tongue. Look it up. It's on PSP. It's the only one on PSP.
Portable Ops, Peace Walker.
Peace Walker. That's it. Peace Walker.
That's the one. Right.
That's the one.
Oh no, Acid was the one I think I played.
Oh.
Yeah. No, maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was Peace Walker. I don't know, but there was cards and it was turn based and it wasn't really a Metal Gear game. It was very strange.
Oh, maybe that is Acid then, because Peace Walker has cards, but I don't think it's. Okay,
yeah, it was a bit oh God, what's that game? Fucking hell, don't worry about it. The one where whatever. Who cares?
The more details you gave.
The one by the Civilization studio. That's not Civilization. The other one.
The more words you say,
the more details you're giving, the further away. I feel I was so confident I knew it, and now I'm I don't.
This sounds like you had a fever dream here in your life.
What did Firaxis make?
Oh, XCOM.
Yeah, it's like XCOM. It's a bit like XCOM, but it's a Metal Gear Solid thing.
Okay. That might be Peace Walker. Anyway, speaking of card games, Pokemon trading card game Pocket, iOS and Android. I'm tentatively interested in this. Max and I both like to play TCGs on our phone. I thought the presentation they gave about this a couple months ago, like, looked pretty good. And like the fact that they have like mechanism for you, like getting a free pack of cards every day and like that kind of thing is like, I think interesting. Like, so much of it will come down to how it plays and what the progression's like and everything. But I could see myself giving it a shot, and maybe it'll be my new TCG obsession for this year. Plus, I can have the fun of playing the game without the danger of becoming an addict with cards, because that's my real fear.
What was your prediction about mobile games or something from a big developer or whatever it was?
It was Xbox launching their mobile store.
Oh, okay, that's nothing to do with this. And I thought there was something about like a mobile game from a big studio or something. I was like, well, this probably is it.
Maybe. I mean, that would be great, right? Please give me some points. Next up, Plucky Squire, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, PC. This is another one I feel like we've been talking about forever, and I've been in on it since the first trailer. It's like, put it out already.
Yeah,
right? Put it out already.
Come in. I really thought this was going to be announced all like before E3, at E3, not E3. So I don't know what this is.
It wasn't even at the Devolver thing, was it?
No, it wasn't. I'm really keen for this. I was emailing Devolver about this back in like March, like, hey, this is imminent. Like, can we sort of have a look at this game? And then I never heard anything back, and the game's still not even anywhere close. So
yeah, we didn't give our opinions on releases for these last couple. I think Lego will come out. I think Metal Gear might get delayed. I think Pokemon will come out. I think this will get delayed.
Yeah, me too.
And then last up is Until Dawn, getting its remake on PS5 and PC. This is sick. This game is awesome. If you've never played this game, you owe it to yourself to check it out. Supermassive has done some really good stuff. I think this is the top.
They've never managed to outdo their like original title, and like the Quarry was great.
The Quarry was really
great.
The Quarry was really, really good.
I still think Until Dawn is better. I really do. And then what's that other one that's like trapped in that Sony PlayLink thing that you have to use your mobile phones? They should remake that as well at some point, because that was good. Hidden Agenda. They should remake Hidden Agenda. That was a good game. Was cool.
So like this is one that I definitely think if you haven't checked it out, you owe it to yourself to give it a spin. And if you have, I mean, great time to revisit, right? Especially it's going to come out, I think, like around Halloween or whatever. Oh, this is a game I love to go back to at that time of year. I think it'll come out as well.
Could be some big Halloween releases. Isn't Luigi's Mansion coming out around then as well? Is that, was it?
The game came out last week, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Why did they release that around Halloween?
Luigi's Mansion
that came out last week? Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they came out like end of June.
No, I think you're right. End of June. I'm pretty sure Andrew Valentine wrote in about it for Nintendo Noise, so maybe that is the case. But yeah, I didn't even think about that not being on the list today. But yeah, I think you're right that it was a summer release, and I remember commenting on that. It's like, why did you put that on the fall, right? Like, put it out at Halloween. But I guess people watch horror movies in the summer too, so it's like I think people get in the spooky mood around summertime. So
yeah, I need to rewatch Scream.
Can't hurt
until Halloween.
So before we leave for today, I want to just plant your flag. What's the title you're most excited for out of everything we talked about today? For me, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Easy answer.
Star Wars Outlaws.
God, this is such a huge question. I'm going to say Wo Long.
Okay, cool.
Just because I'm really keen for that one, but I'm sure there's another one that we've missed that I've not talked about yet.
Knee jerk. That's the one you're most excited for today. You're allowed to. Your answer's allowed to evolve.
I've just right at the end of Dark Souls Remastered, so obviously I'm in a big Dark Souls mood, Souls-like mood.
I think it's funny that you're so in it that you're like, I beat Elden Ring's DLC, I started Dark Souls, and now the game I'm most excited for is yet another Souls. Like, you're on one right now.
Bought Neo earlier as well in the Steam sale. I am ready to. That's the thing. I start one and I'm like, oh yeah, I like this, and I get to the end of it and I'm like, I've got a taste for it now. Where's more?
That's what I feel like the last like year or so was like for me with JRPGs, where it was just like back to back to back to back. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, all right, cool. I need a break. All right, gang. So if you want to write in and let us know what your most anticipated game of 2024 is, please do so in all the ways that you can. Head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website where you will find links to all the places we are all over the web. and all the ways that you can write into the show with your thoughts on this or any other topic. Or if you want to write in with a main topic. And of course, don't forget to write in for next week's show where we're going to discuss backlogs. I would love to hear your strategies for dealing with your backlog or your strategies for letting go of the guilt about your backlog. Either or are viable options. So however you choose to deal with it.
I also want to know what button on a controller everyone is. So I think they should tell us what button they are and why.
Okay. There we go. All right, gang. Thanks for joining us here in another episode of the FlipScreen Games Podcast. For the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Max. He's been Steve. We'll see you next week.
Bye.